I want to make a video today to kind of correct the record about what I said last night in my live podcast. And this is concerning the shooting in North Carolina of Keith Scott. Now, in my video last night, I said this is nothing like the Tulsa shooting, which appears to be an officer who panicked and did something wrong, which is, not the first time we've ever seen that. I said this appears to be a clear-cut case of someone with a gun being told to drop that gun, but then refusing to and being shot by police. But it turns out I might have been wrong. Now, I was basing my opinions on a photograph the police released that showed a potential gun at his feet, what looked to be a gun in the picture, and it was even circled, and the police said, this is the gun, and it did look like it could be a gun. And I was deciding to take the police's side over the family because I was like, the family wasn't there. The police were there, so why would I believe the family over the police if they weren't even there? Well, it turns out I was wrong on multiple accounts. First off, it appears the wife was there. In fact, she filmed it. So there's new film out today of the actual shooting, the before and after and during even, and it appears a family member was there, the wife was there. So maybe he didn't have a gun. I don't know, but then you still have to deal with the picture. But as far as me saying the family wasn't there, so their word doesn't matter, I guess I was wrong. It does matter because they were there. And also, it appears I might have been wrong about the gun. I might have been wrong about the picture of the gun because what appeared to be a gun in the picture doesn't appear to be a gun now when you actually look at additional images that are available. Like I said, the police released this picture saying, this is the gun. They even circled it and said, this is the gun. Well, that kind of looked like a gun, like I said, but if you look at pictures earlier on, after the guy has just been shot, this Keith Scott, after he's just been shot, he's on the ground, he's already cuffed, he's down, probably already deceased at this point. There's no gun there. There's nothing where this item is at in this picture. It's just a blank space right there. As you can see in the photo that supposedly shows the gun, there's police tape up. So this was taken much later. So somehow the gun got there after the initial shooting. It got there later on in the day. Well, that made me start wondering, well, was it there, but was it slightly differently positioned before? I started searching the video, looking for a gun on the ground, and then I saw something that I thought looked like it could be a gun on the ground in the video. Right behind the officer in red, it looks like there's something on the ground that could be the gun. But then I noticed there's not one object, but two. There's two objects on the ground that look like they could have been the gun. And then the officer in red puts his foot on one of them and shoves them backwards. Now, this would be a big no-no if that was the gun, because you don't mess with evidence like that, especially after the perp is already down, cuffed, and possibly deceased. This wasn't within his reach, so you would not have moved this object if it was the gun. So I started thinking to myself, what could this be other than a gun, and why are there two of them? When he moves it with his foot, it appears to go flat under his foot. It doesn't seem to move like a gun, so I'm like, well, maybe it's not a gun, but what is it? So I start watching the footage a little bit closer. And then you see a big clue as to what it might be. You see the black officer drops something on the ground, something black. Now, a lot of people might be like, oh, it's a throwdown. He's putting down a throwdown. But no, if you pay close attention, it's his gloves. He throws his gloves on the ground. He later picks them back up and they're no longer there. And then if you pay attention to the two dark objects that were on the ground around the officer with red, later he goes out of frame for a while. And then when he comes back, those objects are gone, but he has black gloves in his hand. In fact, you can see him approaching the body after the police tape is up later in some other pictures, which I don't have currently on me. I saw them on the news, where he's approaching the body and he has a set of black gloves in his hand. And then in the picture that the police released, which I assume is just from a few moments later, he has no black gloves in his hand that you can see, and there's a black object on the ground next to him and next to the body. Now, taking all this into account, I have to say I think I was wrong. I don't think that's a gun. I think it's a glove. It seems more likely that that's a glove. In fact, now that I think that it's a glove, it even looks more like a glove than it does a gun. If it was a gun, it just wouldn't have suddenly appeared there. They wouldn't have moved it. If they had taken it off his body, they wouldn't have tossed it over to the side. They would have bagged it as evidence. So I don't believe that's a gun. I don't believe the cops are that grossly incompetent that they would be treating a firearm on the scene like that. I think that's just one of the officer's gloves. Now, even though I'm wrong about that being the gun, that doesn't mean I'm making a definitive decision here about what I think happened. I still don't know what happened. I don't know who's right. Maybe there was a gun on the scene. Maybe that's not the gun. I don't think that's the gun. It does make me kind of wonder, well, why did the police circle that and say that's the gun when you see the entire video here and you can see that it was never there until much later in the scene? That's a little bit suspicious to me because the police obviously knew that that was much later in the scene and they probably know that's not the gun. So why circle it and say it is and then refuse to release the rest of the information that would show that that's probably not a gun? Now, like I said, I'm not deciding what happened yet, but one thing I do know for sure, the police need to release this video and be able to explain their reasoning. Now, I know in North Carolina, they're going to a lot of effort to make police videos not part of public record. They've even passed laws trying to say that now, which I think is ridiculous. These are public servants, fully funded by public money. The video of their activities should be public record. The fact that you're trying to hide it makes it look suspicious, especially that you pass laws so that you don't ever have to release them. That looks really suspicious. So if you really want to get the public on your side and you want to try to convince people you're doing the right thing, release the videos, be transparent, show that you have nothing to hide.